History tells us that September is the worst month of the year for the stock market. If we look at this chart of the S&P's monthly returns dating back nearly a century, you can see that September is definitely the month for the bears. So, in this video, I want to talk about what the September effect is and how I'm personally protecting my portfolio using things like precious metals and put options, just in the case that we do see some volatility or downside in the month ahead. My name is Royce Jacob. I've been a professional options trader for over 5 years now. I have well over 1,000 videos just like this here on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And welcome back to Waves Capital. Let's get into the September effect. All right, so first things first, what is the September effect? The September effect refers to the historically weak stock market returns observed during the month of September. In fact, September has been the worst performing month on average going back nearly a century. And for that, I'm going to once again reference this little graph that I included in one of my recent newsletters, tracking the S&P 500's monthly returns all the way back to 1928. And for the most part, the S&P goes up. American equities are incredibly resilient, and that's proven over time. But if there's one thing that's really clear, that's glaring you right in the face on this graph, on this chart, it's the fact that September is, bar none, the worst month for stocks, okay? And again, this is just historical data. So I do want to reference, before diving into the charts and talking about some of the specific strategies I'm implying, just to go back to my newsletter, and of course, this has my portfolio breakdowns. I'll just give you guys a little tease here. I do have some call options contracts on silver. First Majestic Silver and iShares Silver Trust, which performed incredibly well on the final day of August, as names like NVDA and the NASDAQ and S&P were falling lower. Gold and silver absolutely crushed it. Okay, so before we go into this and before we discuss against some of these portfolio strategies, I will just say that if you're not a member of my complete portfolio and daily newsletter yet, that I highly recommend giving it a try. It's been an amazing few months. It's been really an amazing year so far. So on top of these daily trade analysis, portfolio analysis newsletters, these are kind of just where I go over the macro backdrop and everything that's going on in the markets. Send these things out every single day. You also get a complete breakdown of my entire personal portfolio. So all of the specifics that we'll be talking, specifically, all of the positions that I'll be loosely covering today are, of course, involved in my complete portfolio. So if you're interested in that, it's going to be the first link in the description of the video or in the pinned comments. Welcome to the team. It's only $15 a month. I take great pride in the price points that I offer this for, especially considering the returns that we've gotten this year. So again, give it a shot. I appreciate you joining the team if you do choose to hop on board. But if not, no worries at all. I do appreciate you watching this video. So again, before we dive into silver, talk some put options, and even some other names like Open Door and Philip Morris, let's read over this, okay? Strong summer often leads to stock market turbulence in early fall. There may be some cloudy days ahead for the stock market after the strong summer run. The S&P 500 is on pace to end August 2% higher after rising 2.2% in July. The benchmark is also on pace for its fourth straight monthly advance. But the index typically averages a 0.7% decline in September, making it the worst month of the year historically, according to the Stock Traders Almanac. With the S&P 500's July and August rallies, September could bring even rougher waters based on historical patterns. Okay, so again, S&P 500 performance in years with strong summers. Not going to read over all that. You guys can take a look at that, pause if you want. But I think you get the point by now that September, just using history to our advantage here, is the worst month of the year for stocks. It's not guaranteed. That doesn't mean that by any means it's guaranteed that September is going to be red, or September doesn't have to be shaky. It's entirely possible that the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, Bitcoin, all soar to new highs. That's entirely possible. But again, just using history to our advantage, which is what I require of myself as a trader, and that's just what I feel is my responsibility to everyone who's part of the team. And of course, my bottom line, you need to use all of the data that you have available to give you the greatest edge possible, which is why over the past couple of weeks, I have been preparing for some of the volatility that really began showing its head at the end of August. And again, NVIDIA, a lot of names like the NASDAQ, S&P, Apple, Tesla, all fell to close out the month of August, which is a pretty, especially given everything we just discussed, the general theory behind the September effect, that is definitely foreshadowing. So how am I protecting my portfolio? I just, once again, or just a little while ago, I gave you guys a little taste of some of the call options I have. So that's just a taste of what, again, is in the portfolio. There are many, I want to say there are 10 to 12 more call options positions below this, and of course some put options, which we're going to discuss too. So again, first, Majestic Silver. That's my favorite silver mining stock. Silver, as you can see here, just on Friday, which is a great precursor, kind of the antithesis to what's going on in tech stocks like NVIDIA. Silver on Friday, the final day of August, saw its highest level since 2011. Which is crazy. We can zoom out. We're on weekly candles here. So last time silver's been this high was in September of 2011, okay? Which is some pretty insane stuff. Technically speaking, looking amazing. Silver did break out from a massive, like, multi-year. This was a 5-year just kind of trading range, slightly ascending channel that was in. Broke resistance, came back down, retested that line of resistance as new support. Silver is currently holding this nice, like, shorter term ascending channel, still over a year old, but this beautiful textbook ascending channel just broke and closed the week above what I would consider to be this line of absolute resistance right here. So super bullish. Weekly RSI, very bullish. Weekly stochastic RSI here where my cursor's hovering, also incredibly bullish. This setup for silver it's pretty rare to find a technical setup this strong. And especially considering gold and silver tend to act as chaos hedges, as they have many times in the past, and safe haven assets in the case that stocks fall. This is a great place for investors to feel safe parking their capital if there's volatility elsewhere across the markets. And I think that's exactly what's going to come into play here. And again, this technical setup for silver really is just fuel to that fire, fuel to the fundamental fire. Okay, so silver, SLV is just the iShares Silver Trust. AG is my favorite silver miner. Those are my silver plays. Put options. I do trade put options contracts. So if you're not familiar with trading options, that's okay. You can actually buy things like SQQQ is an ETF that shorts the NASDAQ 100. If you just want to buy a stock, because this is an ETF, you can just buy shares in these. So SQQQ, SPXU is the same thing for the S&P 500, and VIXY, VIXY, tracks general volatility. But personally, I'm trading put options on NVIDIA. If you want to dip your toe into put options or just call options, because I trade just options in general. If you want to learn how to trade options contracts in general, I have a very, very simple guide to doing so. It really isn't, I don't want to say it's not hard. It takes a lot of experience to get the hang of them, but just from a ground level, it's pretty easy to grasp your head around. And again, if you do want to dip your toe, always start small. Never play with more than you're willing to lose. Okay. But again, I do have a course on that. Simple. It's $22. So I take pride in the price points I put on these things. Okay. So silver, NVIDIA put options. I'm currently holding NVIDIA put options. Those absolutely crushed it on Friday for good reason. And then finally, Opendoor. This is a stock that we've been talking about a lot here on the channel recently. Opendoor, you can see, climbed and continued to rally. So we'll just take a quick look at Opendoor just for a little bonus for you guys. Opendoor performing incredibly well, looking super strong, volumes looking solid. And I do think that stocks like Opendoor, meme stocks, cult stocks, can also almost counterintuitively act as safe haven assets. Or I shouldn't say safe haven assets. That's definitely not the right term to use, but they can perform well when the greater markets are doing poorly. If you see a watch list of red, if you see a sea of red on the watch list, investors take a look at Opendoor. Opendoor continues to skyrocket. CNBC, all the talking heads have been talking about Open a lot. And if you see Open absolutely ripping while everything else is tanking, that is a really, really good catalyst for a stock like Opendoor with a market cap of only $3 billion to really, really excel. So I am biased. I have call options on Opendoor. So I will say that everything that I'm talking about, my money is where my mouth is. Philip Morris, kind of legacy stocks, same as Altria or MO. those also tend to perform well. Defensive stocks, just US, just base US American stocks like Philip Morris, again, which is one of the largest common share positions within my portfolio, in the Waves portfolio, can also perform well. So all of this said, please let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think it's going to be a good or bad September? Again, if you want to know how I'm trading every day, if you want my daily trade alerts and all of these newsletters that I dedicate my life to writing, it's the first link in the description or in the pinned comments. Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you. And yeah, stay safe out there, you guys. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.